a great program for you. We are going to be talking about the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program. We have folks from Schell Games here as well as CCAC. We're getting a bunch of questions, so I am really excited to get to all of them. So, as we always do, we have a live chat moderator. We have Adam, or Kudakuma, as you know him through the Discord. And if you have any questions, please go through the live chat to answer your question, and he'll make sure that we see them in a timely manner. Now, we always do a question at the very beginning for our panelists to think about and an answer at the very end. And so that question is, how or what do you want the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program to look like in 5 years? I know that's a little ambitious because it's literally just being kicked off like this year, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at is this in its final form now? Are there other ways that this can scale beyond, higher ed, high school, whatever? We encourage your questions about apprenticeships, internships, what the difference is, and how this program really encapsulates, what an apprenticeship really is, or what experiential learning is. We're going to dive into that term as well. So enough of me talking. Let's introduce our panelists. First, we'll go with Jesse.
Hey there, I'm Jesse Schell, the CEO at Schell Games.
Thank you. And Sara?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sara Kissell Vieira, and I'm the Learning and Development Specialist at Schell Games.
And Dr. Dupont.
Yes, I am Rebecca Dupont. I work at Community College of Allegheny County, and I am the Associate Professor of Multimedia Communications.
Excellent. And again, Dwayne here, marketing manager here at Schell Games. And I'm thrilled about this topic. I remember we had a dinner with the devs in, I want to say it was 2018, whenever Lauren Reed, our director of HR, senior director of HR, was talking about this idea of bringing on some type of apprenticeship for college students. I was like, oh, that would be great. And now, 4 years later, it's happening. So I'm so excited that the studio continued to make this an initiative. So one of my first questions, and we can go first with Jesse. What was the original idea behind the apprenticeship program?
Oh no, it's a great question. It was something I've been talking about for, oh my gosh, probably about 10 years, trying to figure out how to get something like this going. The thing I've always been a little frustrated with is how people struggle trying to find a way in to the game industry. Presently, many colleges are not really well set up to prepare you for it. So people aren't sure, well, where should I go to school and what should I do? And I talk to a lot of people coming out of colleges, and they get some of the right experience, but they don't always have all of the right experience. And I just kept thinking about the apprenticeship model, which is something that I've always had a lot of belief in. I often think that our current model of high school is kind of out of whack because it can be very disconnected from the real world of work. And so just thinking about how in the game industry can we build that bridge between what you need in the workplace and what you need from formal education, because you can't just go straight into the workplace. There is a lot of formal education required to kind of get up to speed in the game industry. And as I started thinking about, everyone talks about remote education, the power of remote education, it occurred to me that you don't have to do remote education from home. What if you could do it from work? And so we started exploring, what programs have some remote capabilities that could blend so that you could be going to work on a regular basis, but then also be getting educated at the same time. That's how we got connected with CCAC on this.
Good stuff. So what's Dr. Dupont and Rebecca, feel free to jump in as well. What's the structure of the program? So just we can lay the foundation for the viewers. Like what exactly does the program look like?
Absolutely. So I'm actually in version 3 of the program right now. I mean, as many folks know in technology, things just change at the speed of light for all of us. So students go normally for 2 to 3 years, and the program focuses both on design as far as computer gaming is concerned, but also they get that programming background as well. So we do a lot as far as different industry standard softwares. We also, as far as our lab at North Campus, we do virtual reality. We're actually currently in the process of rebuilding the lab so that we can also do a lot more augmented reality. We can even do motion capture as well. We're kind of funding for that right now. So that's something really exciting coming down the pike that, a lot of students can have access to. As long as you're a CCAC student, you'll be able to, in the program, you'll be able to go in and be working with that type of hardware, kind of preparing you for the industry. Because that's one thing I got a lot of was, folks would say that, okay, this is great. I learned how to do this stuff, but now I have to do virtual reality in, the industry, and I've never touched a VR headset in my life. What do I do? So that was kind of where I came from whenever I started, kind of facelifting the program.
Good deal. And maybe Sarah from the Schell Games side. So Rebecca talked about what would look like a CCAC. So what would the experience be of the students coming into the studio?
Yeah, so we're really excited to get these first year students into the studio and have their college experience at the same time. So there's so many more possibilities with that now with, remote classes that can be asynchronous and can be done on their studio time, with classes that are in person. So they still get that, that sense of belonging and community with their cohort. But while they're at the studio, there's going to be a whole host of things that they'll be learning hands on that we want to tie in with their curriculum. So we really want to be able to have a pathway that makes sense for these first year students as they go through their entire program over the course of a couple of years, where what they're learning in the classroom can be directly applied to what they're doing in the studio and added to by the studio culture here at Schell Games and all of the inherent knowledge and learning that we have within the studio.
Good stuff. Yeah, thank you for giving us the breakdown of it. And so so we already answered that. So let's go to a couple of questions here. So we always love having questions from the live chat. So please, if you have any questions at all that deal with this, this would be great. So David Summer asks, we bring it up here. What technologies will the student learn? And is it teaching both tech skills and things like project management?
It does actually. We with the revamp, one of the big things is we added a capstone to the program where students will be able to take on the different roles, and one of them will be project management. But overall, through the program, students get a lot thrown at them, to be honest. They're going to be learning C#, C++. They learn Java. They learn intermediate Java. They also are going to be learning, as far as graphics are concerned, everything from UV mapping to applying to your 3D models in Maya. I actually got done with a lecture today as far as, special effects in Maya. We have a course on that. We also do the Unreal Engine, and this week I just got done teaching blueprint examples in Unreal. We do Unity also. So we have so many different classes where the big goal of the program and we also do the Adobe Suite, but the big goal for me is this is definitely a time, in my opinion, in these 2 years that students are with me. Yes, you come together and you practice those soft skills at the end, but this is the time to try everything. I've had students walk out of my class, for 3D modeling, and they're like, nope, I'm done. Thank you. It was neat to see. I don't want to do this. I'm a programmer. And I'm like, then go. You're all good, because it takes all sorts to, you need all sorts in the video game industry. So that's just, that's pretty much most of what we do.
Very cool. Let's see, we have another question here. Oh, this is a cool one. I don't know the answer to this one, so let's bring this up. Gabriel asked, I wonder if individuals such as myself that lives outside of the U.S. and Montreal, I love Montreal, by the way, one of my favorite cities in Canada, would be considered for this type of program.
Well, as far as that goes, I know CCAC, we have a lot of students from all over the country, all over the world that go through our programs. Like I actually know our paralegal program at CCAC, they have students all over the country, different time zones and everything like that. So, I mean, as far as applying to the program, there's absolutely nothing wrong as far as being able to apply. We do, right now for the fall, we're shooting to have both Zoom based courses, but also we're shooting to have face to face courses as far as the students are concerned. So you'd be able to just Zoom in and, you could take the courses.
Yeah, for the apprenticeship, I think largely we'd be looking at a visa question. And I think it wouldn't we'd need to have a conversation with HR about the details of that. But we very frequently have interns who are students on a visa from another country. So if you have an educational visa for the purpose of to be part of the CCAC program, it seems completely reasonable that you could also be part of the apprenticeship. So, I mean, we'd have to check in details, but sounds like it should work. It seems to follow a lot of other things we've done.
Good stuff. And then we have one more before we get back. Let's see. Agent Nilla, like vanilla, I love it, from the I Expect You Die Discord asks, will there be a limit to how many people can join the apprenticeship, or will it be first come, first serve? So how would the selection work?
Well, right now, what CCAC is doing is there is a short essay assigned whenever you apply to the college. And again, when you apply to the college, you're not actually signing up for classes or anything like that. You can apply and be admitted to CCAC. And it's actually a blind review. So I actually, whenever I am looking at and reading through the essays, I don't know anything about the student. So I mean, the only people that will know are the people behind the scenes as far as making the CCAC software and databases run type of thing, but they're just giving me the essays. I don't know anything as far as demographics are concerned. So, and from there, I'm gonna, read the essays and then kind of hand them over to Schell as far as the interview process.
Right. And I guess, just to make sure that people listening like fully comprehend the situation, the Schell Games Apprenticeship is building on top of an existing CCAC program. Right. So about how many students, Dr. Dupont, do you take into the Games and Multimedia program each year?
Well, we actually had a very large boom over COVID. I was actually one of the few programs that actually did boom. But most of the time, especially now that we have gone also in offering Zoom based, I mean, it's not uncommon. In our first class, MMC 160, which is game prototyping and learning as far as how to create a game, designing characters, designing documentation, it's not uncommon for us to have, 2 sections, so about 60 students, just coming in the fall alone.
Right.
And that's not counting, the other courses that they can take simultaneously.
Got it. So now, right. And so you'll be admitting students. You might be admitting as many as 60 students. Some students are going to choose, hey, I'd also like to be part of the apprenticeship. We'll be getting those applications and we'll be choosing apprentices out of that. Initially, the plan is that we're going to choose 2 apprentices to start this September. So we'll have a kind of a separate process to figure out who are going to be the right people to do that. And the idea in the apprenticeship is you're coming to the office every day. You're working maybe half time in the office, but then the other half of your time is available so that you can do your work in the CCAC program. And the idea is that you would be completing your degree over a 3-year period, because instead of being full-time as a student, you're kind of half-time as a student and half-time a working professional as an apprentice. So that's kind of the vision for how that would work, at least initially.
Well, the follow-up with that, John Juniper from the I Expect You Die Discord asks, is this only for this year, or is it going to be possibly every year?
Yeah, we're very much hoping that the apprenticeship is an ongoing process. Right now, we're just committing to, hey, we're going to start it this fall, and we're going to see how it goes, and we're going to learn from that. But the idea would be to take in new students every year, would be the way we're hoping it will work.
Good deal. So we have another question that goes along the lines of where I wanted to go to. So I'm going to pull this up from Jordan. And Jordan asks, I was wondering if this program was on the same level as an internship. So my question that was right in line with this, so thank you, Jordan, for asking it, is like, why did Schell Games and CCAC choose apprenticeship program instead of an internship program? And what's the difference? So I'd love to hear from all three of you on this.
Yeah, I can step up and say it's different from a Schell Games internship in that Schell Games internships the bar is fairly high. When we hire interns, we expect that they are skilled enough that we can drop them into a team and they are working on that team full time, just like any other employee. So the bar is fairly high. Whereas with the apprenticeship program, we know the students are coming in with a lower amount of experience. They're only going to be working half time. We're going to initially be giving them, in their first year, they'll be getting tasks that are something that they are going to be able to handle at their level. And then as their experience grows over a few years, we're going to be giving them more and more complex tasks. And that's what part of Sarah's responsibility is going to be, is she's going to be the one figuring out, working with the different teams, because we typically have 8 to 10 teams working at Schell Games. What are the teams that are going to get the help from the apprentices? She's going to be helping to manage that and figure that out as we go. So from our point of view, that's how this is different from an internship. Also, typically internships are usually briefer. They are, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whereas this will be is meant to be continuous over a 3-year period.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks, Rebecca. So to add on to that, traditionally when we're looking at internships, not only are those duration shorter, and here we're looking at a much longer time period, about 3 years, but we're having that learning coincide with that in classroom learning, and an internship might not have that. I think one of the benefits of our internship, but our apprenticeship approach is the variety of learning that'll be taking place. So if you're in an internship, whether that's a paid internship or an unpaid internship, you might be really kind of focused on one thing. Whereas here, we really want the apprentices to gain as much experience as possible. So, we will have things involving art, we'll have things involving design, production, engineering, and you'll get to see all of those different pieces. So there's much more of a breadth there than maybe a more typical internship that might have just one focus.
And for me too, like the apprenticeship from, the educational side, I'm excited about it from the standpoint that, showing students something in the classroom and they might sit there and say, oh my gosh, I just saw that, they were just doing this here at Schell Games. Oh my gosh, now I know how to do that. Or, likewise, even bringing up questions like, well, I saw folks, I was on this team and we were doing it this way, can you explain this a little bit more? Being also able to bring that industry in, for other students to kind of learn from as well. So it's almost, to me, that's one of the cool things about an apprenticeship, whereas an internship, at least in my experience, is, I help the students go through and review their portfolios, and then it's like they graduate and I send them off as far as doing their internships. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something, Sarah?
No, I was agreeing with Rebecca.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So going off that, Rebecca, so how will the instruction be tailored or designed to the projects and assignments to the students what they experience through the studio as they go through the apprenticeship process?
Well, overall, we do start out with, we start out with as far as our game design and layout course. And actually, we very much hang our hats on, Jesse's lenses of game design and stuff like that. So, and they practice the paper prototyping. Even, when we even take them through with VR, I save all of my Amazon boxes so that they can actually build out their environments and things like that. We have a lot of boxes in the innovation lab, but then they're also practicing that game design document. And a lot of the students are encouraged, think about the document in terms of like, okay, I can use this as a guiding point whenever I go into the next course. Maybe it's 3D modeling, or it's the graphics course where maybe I want to learn, focus on sprite design and animation, or maybe I'm more 3D, but I want to do UV mapping instead for my models, and figuring out level of detail. So in each class, the students have about 3 to 4 projects and then a final project. One of the other things, in each project is meant to kind of build on the topics. It's also meant they can build upon the project to get a portfolio piece. And, I always tell my students a good portfolio piece is a done portfolio piece. We're not looking for Skyrim in your portfolio. So, I mean, it's have that small demonstration, talk about what you used and why you made those choices, and then, you're good to go on that front. So, but also too, I mean, again, while you're going through the program, it is also too, we have a lot of group feedback. It's to kind of, first off, it's to build up the student, but also it's to kind of take that fear away. That we've all had that experience where you're looking at the person next to you in the class and you're like, wow, their work's so much better than mine, type of thing. So it's to help kind of raise everybody up as far as your work is good, or it's okay, like I may be sitting there looking at a developer saying, boy, I wish I could program like them, while the same developer may be looking at me going, boy, wish I could do level design like her. So hopefully that answers the question there. I mean, I kind of got off to the side and excited. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jesse, I saw that you were agreeing with a lot of that with portfolio project being a done project. Did you want
Yeah.
to just expand on why you agree with that?
Oh, I really want to underline that. When we're looking to hire people, the things that we look for the most are finished work that you really believe in. Is just very important, because anybody can start a project. I probably start 5 projects a day, but finishing a project, that is what is that can be a real challenge. And very often, it's worth noting, the most valuable projects aren't always the ones that were, oh, the school assigned me this and I did that. Those are fine to show because they often show, oh, that shows you can follow directions. When you take what you learned in the school environment and then build something you were passionate about that was your own idea, and you take what you learned from school, but then you build something you cared about and you finish it, and that's in your portfolio, like that's usually the strongest possible thing you can have in your portfolio, because it shows you have initiative, that you care, that you can do more than just take orders and follow directions. You can actually take what you've learned from that and then create something that is your own. That's often the most valuable way to build a portfolio.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, let's keep going. Let's see. Let's see what other questions we had here. Oh, this is another one from David, and he mentioned, which is cool because one thing is about getting this knowledge out to all types of learners in college, or different populations. So David asks, oh, I just had it. Is the school taking steps to get a diverse population into the program?
well, we do a lot of social media advertising. We also have it on our website. We do have admissions and recruitment going out to the local high schools and sending out the information. Um, and again, I mean, I will say yes. I mean, that is part of our 5 C's at CCAC, but also we have a very heavy focus on uh, equity, diversity, and inclusion. But again, when it comes down to the final choice, I'm doing a blind review. So I mean, that's about as so whatever backgrounds folks are coming from, I'm not going to know on that front.
Yeah, I will say one of the reasons that we're excited about the apprenticeship program is that it broadens the channels by which people can enter the game industry. because so often there are a lot of people for whom that the normal, the paths of trying to go through 4-year college and get a degree and all of that can be a bit of a barrier. And this is designed to take down those barriers. And our hope is in that doing that, it opens up for a much more diverse pool of applicants than is normal for the game industry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. We're super excited about the program. Can't wait until it's fully rolled out. So I want to dive a little bit more into the future of education. And I had this last bit, and I actually, full disclosure, I sent this to Sara. It's like, okay, well, I want to talk about skill-based development, but I feel like that's not exactly what I want to call it. So is it experiential learning? Is it, learning skills as you go? And so we talked about, that second part. So I want to dive into that too. But first, how do we look at learning institutions like CCAC, and how can we have other institutions like them partner with private organizations? Because I do feel like that this is this trend isn't new, right? Like, this is how people used to learn how to work, right? This is how people used to learn how to get skills. So how can we bring that back in this type of society with learning institutions and private organizations? Is a big question. So please, all three of you, feel free to dissect on what you feel best. And we could start with Dr. Dupont.
Well, I will say, I've actually, we do have a lot of agreements with private companies as well, but also a lot of the trade skills. And while people normally don't equate like game design and development with a trade skill. If you kind of think about it, it is a skill set that you are learning. I mean, we might not be fixing a car or fixing an air conditioner, but I mean, you got to troubleshoot. We do, you got bugs and stuff like that you got to sort out. So, I mean, I think too, with as far as a 2-year institution kind of partnering with the different companies and stuff like that, I think it's going to grow more. I think folks are starting to, I know, even, some folks in higher education are starting to question, do you really need a doctorate to go into the gaming industry? I mean, do you even need a master's to go into the gaming industry? I mean, students this day and age, they have so many more opportunities. I mean, I was in school in the early 2000s, and it was like we got these giant Adobe books that were like yay thick, and that was it. You didn't have Reddit. You didn't have Discord. I mean, wow, I sound so old, talking about this, So, I mean, nowadays you have so much information at your fingertips that you get excited about something in the class. And I see that all the time. Like my students will get excited about modeling, or whenever we worked with Encloth, and they're like, okay, I'm going to go out and design an entire outfit on, a human character now. So, and they're just out there doing their research. So I think it is going to grow more. And I hope a lot of businesses start to take a little more notice. As far as I think there still is a little bit of the stigma attached to community colleges, just in, general, as far as the country is concerned. But I mean, I look back on it, I wish somebody would have, told me more about community college as far as, the type of education I could get there.
Yeah, I'll say that I'm a huge believer that people just haven't yet made the connection between the opportunities that remote learning involves and connecting that with work. Right now, people think of remote learning as, oh, I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to do my work from home. There's no reason that can't be involved in the workplace. What's made it hard for a lot of careers to have apprenticeships is because college is generally something you have to go and immerse yourself in, and you're there. And then work is a thing you have to immerse yourself in, and they're just geographically far apart. The fact that now jobs are becoming more remote, it's possible to do remote learning, it allows for this new blending of the two that I think people just haven't thought about it. And what I'm really hoping is that as we do this, we can start to figure out the best practices for it. And my hope very much is that we're going to be able to learn those and then share those with as many industries as possible, because I do think being able to learn and work at the same time really can be very effective. It makes what you learn more effective, more practical, and then it makes the work that you do just be more informed by the education. So I'm hoping, I really look at this as being, I think, a big trend over the next 20 years. But we're going, it's going to take more and more companies pioneering and trying things out and finding the right schools to partner with, because not every school is going to be up for this kind of experimentation. But schools like CCAC certainly are. So it's an exciting time.
I like that word experimentation, Rebecca. It reminds me of something you mentioned earlier with like this being a time for discovery. So I think the pandemic inadvertently made, not us just as a society, let's say in the US, but globally, we're questioning so many things. We're questioning how things work. We're questioning norms and wondering, how can we do things differently? How can we do things better? So education and work have to be two of those things that we're questioning, and there have been some huge growing pains with that. But I think what's coming from it are these really creative solutions that make things better for learners, make things better for workers. So how are we going to build this out? I think we build it out by showing how successful it can be. And I mean, we as a studio, we're going through this experiential learning that we're learning while doing just like the apprentices are. So while we're going to kind of be discovering those things along the way as we enter into this first year, by having that success, by having our apprentices share that success with others, hopefully we'll be able to spread that. We had a question earlier about diversity, and I think going back to our resources like community colleges, I mean, there's diversity in terms of access, diversity in terms of experience and where you're coming from. There's so many great things that I think we do need to continue to cast that net wider. And the wider we cast it, the better connections we'll make, the better resources we'll have, and the more that we'll be able to kind of keep growing and hopefully doing.
No, all of those are really good points. I mean, I know I was on a different panel earlier today, and we talked about the great resignation and how there was a rebranding of it just recently. I forget if it was Nielsen or Forrester calling it the Great Exploration. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I kind of like that. But I think that you could apply that to education, right? And especially as you three have talked about this blending of learning at work and how the coming out of the pandemic, the remote work, the remote learning has really kind of served as a catalyst to this type of learning at work, or working while you learn, depending on where you are in the spectrum of things. So Jesse, you kind of already mentioned about how private sector companies could create program or can look for learning institutions, because some institutions might not be ready, just like you said, or unwilling. But what type of messaging, or what are those companies missing out on that this apprenticeship program could encourage some type of collaboration, that no, these private companies should look at learning institutions to partner with for apprenticeships, and here's why. What do you think are some of those points? I mean, early on, right? We're still trying to figure out what the best practices are, but why should they consider it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you care about getting younger people on board in your company as soon as possible, because it matters the way that the next generation is learning and approaching things. And one of the dangers companies fall into is it's easy for a successful company to get very old-fashioned, because it's full of people who learn things the old way. And then when these students come who do things differently, they're not used to oh, I don't necessarily look to books for my research. Maybe I go to YouTube. Maybe I use social media to connect with other people and other companies. And like it's a different way of working. And what we see again and again is companies that embrace these new ways of working that younger people bring, like they're able to stay agile, they're able to grow, make the most of that. And so that's definitely one strength of having people come in so young. But more than that, I think there's the potential for tremendous loyalty. People I've talked to who've been apprentices in other industries, they when they learn so much at a company and they learn the ways of that company, and it's kind of what they grow up in, it means a lot to them, and they often are become intent on kind of staying with that company. And in this time when it is challenging to get new people, when they're talking about the Great Resignation, so many people are moving around, to be able to have ways to get people who just who kind of grew up in the culture of your company and really like it and want to stay there and help shape it, that just has huge value in the long term.
Cool. And I'll throw this question to Rebecca. So you've talked about that, how CCAC has been successful at partnering with many different private organizations. What are some of the approaches, or how would you approach a private institution that hasn't considered partnering with a learning institution, that they should consider doing so?
As far as actually going out and approaching the companies, I would want to visit the company as far as, as far as seeing what they do, learning more about the company, but also too, oftentimes I'll share a lot of, what we do as far as the discipline is concerned. I'll share, the learning objectives. I will talk to them about, what we're doing in the classroom and, trying to figure out, what are we doing in the classroom and what are we teaching our students and how can that connect into your company? What is your company looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you looking for programmers? Well, I can get you programmers and developers. Are you, looking for modelers? I can, get you modelers. Are you looking for artists? I've got artists. So, I mean, that would be normally my approach as far as going out with the companies, and, just trying to connect more with them. And that's one big thing too, I emphasize to my students, we are multimedia. These skill sets, it's not like they're just locked in. It's like, while we all love video games here, it's not a video games or bust type of mentality. We're multimedia. I was taught with multimedia, being the age old, Jill of all trades, master of none. I'd have to wear different hats every single day depending on what I was doing when I was freelancing. And even now as a teacher, and that's probably one of the reasons I love teaching this stuff, is I'm not teaching the same class over and over again. Every single day, I'm teaching different classes on different topics, and it's just a lot of fun. So, but as far as going back to the businesses, I think, that's one of the big things that whenever CCAC, we meet with the businesses and we come up with a game plan as far as what do we currently have in-house that can help you as far as meeting your needs, and, just talking further about it.
No, see, that's fantastic. I mean, and I think for both too, like either learning institutions or private, organizations, figuring out where each other are and how each other can benefit from partnering together is a very big thing and a very big deal. And I think there's a lot of benefit, for doing that. So going back, I think we have another question. Oh, another question from David, if I can find it, talks about the coursework. Here we go. So this, we'll stay with Dr. Dupont. How do you refresh the coursework? Curriculum can be slow to develop and getting code into the syllabus. Do you build in a review cycle? So you kind of just talked about how you don't really teach the same thing every time, but maybe if you want to give a little bit more
Oh yeah,
deep on
and
the
I mean it's
design.
kind of that's a great question too, because I sometimes joke with other faculty from other disciplines. I would love to have one semester where, Adobe doesn't update, or Maya doesn't come out with new things, or Unreal isn't switching to version 5.0. I would love to have a semester where I can use the same notes again. Um, but it is one of those things. Actually, fun fact, as far as higher education is concerned, we have multiple things that we do. First off, I have an advisory board that I meet with once a year, as far as industry members that come in. They review my curriculum. They give me feedback that, are we doing the right thing? Are we teaching the correct software? Is this still an industry standard? So that we do have that part. So I host those about once a year. From an academic side of things, though, we are accredited by Middle States. And so I have to do we pretty much have to do a review of the curriculum for Middle States every 3 years. So I'm actually coming up on my discipline review, where pretty much they determine to make sure that I'm meeting as far as the state requirements for the program. But as far as keeping the curriculum up to date, that's pretty much all me. I appreciate my advisory board's input. I absolutely value it 110%, but it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of research. I mean, honestly, I go to social media. I'm a big Twitter person, but it's a lot of researching, and also, I mean, most of my summers, it's, believe it or not, brace yourselves, teachers don't get the summers off. It's very much, I'm sitting there, okay, like that was something I had to figure out over Christmas. Do I implement Unreal 5.0 this semester? Is it stable enough to actually be in a classroom? So I had to make that decision, and I had to sit down and weigh the pros and cons and test both versions, as far as what are the learning objectives and what is the course students are going to need to do. So, I mean, it is, really, David, to go to your question, I hope that answered it, but it's a lifestyle, as far as making sure this program is up to date and we're up to industry standards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for tackling that.
Mhm.
So, is the apprenticeship program, as the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program, a model of something that can scale?
That's a
And
good question. Sarah, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I'm hopeful that what we'll learn during this first year is how we maybe need to, organize things in terms of making sure that those learning pathways are aligned with what students are learning in the classroom, what they're experiencing in the studio, any sort of first year growing pains that way, and then be able to build it out. So, even though we're starting with 2 apprentices this year, hopefully that means that next year we'll add 2 more. And I also just want to, add that I think that having to is such a great learning experience in and of itself, that no one is going to feel kind of like they're isolated. That's something that I know a lot of people struggle with remote learning or remote work, is that feeling of isolation. So having someone that you're really going through that experience with, I think will also help us to build it out, get the word out there, and then be able to keep bringing those apprentices in with a successful first year and continue it.
Yeah, I could easily imagine a future where it's normal for every project to have an apprentice assigned to it, and we typically have 8 to 10 projects at a time. So it's I think we have a lot of room to potentially scale the apprenticeship program.
Mhm.
good stuff. We have Agent Phoenix jumping off of that. What do you plan on being the end goal of the apprenticeship program? So not only what the apprentices gain, but also what you gain from it too.
For us, I mean, our biggest motivation is to prove that this works, to prove that this is an effective way for people to enter into the game industry solidly and effectively. Because the concept is, you get into this, you're doing your schoolwork, you're getting paid, and we're paying all the tuition on it. I think that's worth mentioning. I don't know if we've said that explicitly, but if
Not yet.
for the apprentices, all the tuition gets paid. And so the idea is that at the end of 3 years, you have a degree, you have 3 years of work experience, you have 0 student loans, is the concept of that. And so for us, if this works, we've created a new way for us to get high quality talent in the door, which I think could be incredibly valuable. And we've proven out something that I hope can be exemplary for the entire game industry. So like in terms of what we get out of it, I think that's the hope, is that we're going to get high quality talent that hopefully will be excited and loyal. And also for us to be able to sort of set the pace for, hey, this is the future of how the game industry works. That really helps us as a studio, because it means it attracts other people and it makes other studios look to us for what's coming next.
I
Go ahead.
I will also say too, I mean, I very much agree. Also too, just to be able to send, and teach students as far as, being able to learn simultaneously while they're working. I guess also though, from a CCAC standpoint and just from a personal standpoint, I look forward to this model also breaking down the barriers as far as, the community college stigma that can still be out there, that, you know, going to community college is nothing to be ashamed of, or, the backup plan or anything like that. So,
yeah, I guess, Rebecca, just to break in on that, like
mhm.
for more and more, I think like it really feels like that's just old thinking that's fading away. It seems like so many people now are seeing it as, look, no, this is an economical, sensible way for me to learn what I need to learn. And and of course, not all colleges are created equal, but I mean, CCAC in particular, you guys have just consistently been so high quality, and the games and multimedia program in particular, from my point of view, I see it as a better program than I've seen it at many four-year colleges. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think that idea of any kind of negative association with community colleges is really fading away.
Yeah, I think it is too. So I'm hoping very much, this could be a model too that just kind of, we finally kick it out of, everybody's mind. But yeah, I mean, being able to get schooling in 2 years and still be able, getting that experience and being able to walk out with that experience, I think is absolutely important at this point too. I think it's an amazing opportunity, and I really hope the idea of, a model like this kind of catches on a lot more, not just in Pittsburgh, but, even across, the states, even in other countries. You want to shoot for the stars type of thing.
I definitely agree, Rebecca, and I want to add in on that one thing for me as a former educator was really frustrating, seeing students leave their secondary education, going off to post-secondary education, and then leaving that and trying to get their first, we'll call it adult job. There are so many roadblocks, and so much of that is that struggle that, those recent grads hit with, okay, I want to get experience, but everyone is asking me to already have experience. So for me, this is definitely on a personal, maybe even selfish level, something that I'm going to get out of it is knowing that the studio is working to actively change that, so that students, our apprentices, will have that real world, real job experience. They'll have their credentials and degree, and they'll be able to go out and have so many more opportunities, hopefully with Schell Games. But then again, just to scale it to other industries, that it almost eliminates that experience problem then, because someone has to give you that shot. So if it's us, that's even better.
Right.
No, absolutely. No, that's great. Jen K writes, this question may have been answered or already been covered. It has not been. But how do you go about applying for the apprenticeship? Would it be for your first year in the CCAC program, or how does that work?
Yes, so you would go to the CCAC website and you can apply on our website, and you can be accepted into the college. You would fill out as far as yes, that you would like to apply to the apprenticeship program, and you'd have a short essay to fill out, and then you would submit that. And then from there, you can be applied and accepted to the college, but you don't actually have to register for anything. You can wait until you hear back as far as, if you get the interview process, and then from there, you know, students who are accepted will still have plenty of time as far as being able to register for the courses. And it's not going to be like hey, you got the interview, and oh, by the way, next week your class is starting, you're going to start working at Schell and stuff like that. We're giving a buffer. So but yes, I mean, you're going to have, definitely folks will have time to kind of digest, get ready, get your courses in order and all that good stuff.
Yeah, our current plan is to start choosing apprentices probably around June timeframe. Mm-hmm. is when we'll begin that process.
Very cool. So we kind of been going around about the scalability, the model or the program right now as a scalable program. Jesse already talked about 8 to 10 projects at a time, and there's a high probability of each project having a apprentice. But is that what the final form of this type of program would look like, or is there something bigger on the horizon, or I guess possibility on the horizon for this program?
Oh, I mean, I think we have no idea like exactly how far it'll go. I think that's really going to come down to what are the students able to achieve as part of it? What are the apprentices able to achieve? I have huge hopes for what they're able to do. There's, this was, I'll just be honest. This was not a thing where I stepped up and said, "Hey, Schell Games, let's do this." And everyone said, "Great idea, let's do it." No, that wasn't how it worked. There were a lot of like, well, wait a minute, are they going to know enough to actually be useful? Is this going to be a headache for us? How are we going to manage it? Like, what if there's a problem? What if there's not enough for them to do? And so they're all sensible questions. And so we've had to kind of work all of that through. But part of the reason I'm excited about it is because we see, we're already getting a solid number of applicants. That I am very confident that the right people as part of this are going to really blow everybody away. And it's going to be something where, I think before too long, we're going to find teams saying like, "Hey, can't we have some more of these apprentices? Because we could really use the extra help is really something great." So it all depends. I mean, and we're very open to seeing where it goes and trying to figure out, all right, how much responsibility can the apprentices take on, and like, what does that lead to? And because apprentices in their first year are going to be very different from second year and third year. Mm-hmm. And what happens after third year, right? After, third year, you've completed your associate's degree and you've got that. Now what is it? Do you enter the company as a full-time employee? Do we do some follow-up with maybe a more advanced degree? I don't know. Any of these things are possible, I think, and it's going to depend on sort of how it goes over the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that's where I am. I mean, it's the sky's the limit type of thing, as far as just seeing where it goes. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and it's also too, I mean, it's the one thing I guess I will say is, it's going to evolve no matter what. So, but I mean, I'm excited about it, see where it goes, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I'm really excited about is also the mentoring that will be able to be an inherent part of the apprenticeship program. There's already so much formal and informal mentoring that takes place in the studio, and that is something we really want to harness all of that knowledge and to share that. And I think in terms of going into the future, one thing that's really important for people entering the games industry, people aspiring to the games industry, is having someone kind of in your corner and saying like, "Hey, you'd be good at this," or like, "You can do this." I think probably a lot of us have a moment in our lives and in our professional careers where somebody said that to us, and that probably made all of the difference. So I'm looking forward to that being able to be a part of the apprenticeship program as well.
Now, do you think that there could be instances, Sara and myself, I was a high school teacher too, and I haven't gotten a chance to share war stories with you yet.
Oh, it's going to happen.
oh, absolutely. But one things that I always looked at as marketing was part of the career and technical education programs in the state of North Carolina, and being able to give students project based learning, like here's how you run a marketing campaign. Here are the things that you're able to do on social media. Even though in high school you weren't allowed to have social media, I was like, okay, whatever, you just destroy my curriculum. It's fine. But is there something like this type of program that could be applied to younger learners? But then on the flip side, even older learners, those who are switching careers. So what are our thoughts about that?
I guess, well, I'll chime in on that at first because I think that's a really interesting point, and a lot of, I think the current push within gaming industry from my research is trying to get that interest earlier on. That I think in middle school and high school, some people who are interested or have an affinity for art, for design, for games, there are so many different ways in which you can enter the gaming industry, and so being able to have that touch point sooner is better. So if we can get middle schoolers to be practicing things or learning coding or having project-based learning where they have to figure out how to solve a particular problem and use some of that real-world technology, that's just going to open up that future talent and that future spark for then the game industry later on.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'll talk from both sides since I've kind of been dealing with both sides here. I mean, definitely, I think from a younger standpoint, thinking like even, as young as like maybe fourth through eighth grade type of thing, I think it's absolutely possible. I mean, with paper prototyping, you have so many also, even starting them out with, easy Java or something, as far as just real basic. But also, I think the most important thing with the younger students is, seeing those results immediately, so I could absolutely see, even started, trying it with Scratch or trying it with Minecraft or something, just seeing how they take to it, just seeing that, okay, I can actually kind of do this. But also I've actually had a lot of folks approach me as far as older learners where it wasn't so much that it was actually twofold. It was they wanted to add on to their degree, but also too it was, hey, my our company has heard about this VR thing and we need to figure it out. So they're sending me back to school for a certificate. Or so that's why I'm doing this. So I've seen kind of the whole you know spectrum of learning there as far as just the age ranges are concerned.
Good deal. Well, thank you guys. Oh, go ahead, Jesse. Did you have something?
Oh, I guess the only thing I was going to say is, we're going to with the apprenticeship program, we're going to have students coming in who are 18, 19. And I think if we prove out that they can be helpful and effective in the workplace, it opens up the question of like, well, if that works, why not have 16-year-olds who are like, partway through high school? Is there a way they can be helpful, as part of a summer program or something? So I think it'd be something we're going to be more and more open to over time.
Good stuff. See, we have a couple fun comments here. Brian talks about mentors in the apprenticeship had to find someone themselves, and and man, I mean, we can have a whole other hour talking about the importance of mentorship. I mean, it's so important when trying to becoming a professional. So I think that's really cool too. And then Math for Masses says even First Lego League has made a great impact at their school, really raised student interest. So being able, like you said, Sarah, to introduce things earlier. And I know Jesse, we've been experimenting that with Happy Adams, trying to get that younger and younger students to get them involved with STEM and STEM learning. It's really cool stuff.
Any programs where people are building real things and solving real problems is it can be so engaging and so practical.
Good stuff, man. An hour went by already. So we do have the question of the hour. What do you want the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program to look like in 5 years? I know the wheels have been turning for all three of you the entire hour trying to answer that question. So let's go first to Sara.
Sure. So in 5 years, I would love to have a solid apprenticeship program that is also still open to change and open to the evolving nature of the games industry. I hope that we have a consistently great applicant pool. I hope that we have that solid mentoring program in place, and then I also hope that we're able to inspire others in the industry and also outside of the industry to show that this model can work, and that it's really something that sparks a little bit of a change for education and for work.
Thank you, Sarah. Rebecca?
I think so. In 5 years, I would like to see it. First off, I just want to see, potentially even, more apprentices, but also to like that it's a barrier breaker, that anybody, is able to get into the apprenticeship program. You don't have to live a certain spot. You don't have to, come from a certain background, nothing like that. Just, and it also as an opportunity too that, being able to, chase after your passion without having to, gamble and spend, all of, the hundreds of thousands of dollars, that you might come out and be like, you know what, I didn't want to do this anyways. I changed my mind. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
the worst feeling there. So, but I mean, I look forward to, meeting the apprentices and working with them, and I look forward to meeting a lot more. So.
Good stuff. And Jesse?
Yeah, I would say in 5 years, I would hope that we would really understand best practices for doing it right, to the point that we will have been able to scale it up and get as many apprentices into the studio as makes sense. But I think much more importantly, as Sara said, is that I hope that we have learned enough that we can set an example for others, and that we're not the only studio around doing this, but that there are dozens or hundreds of others, and that this becomes a really normal pathway for people to come into the game industry, and then hopefully even beyond the game industry. Hopefully other industries will pick up on how effective a way this can be to sort of blend education and recruiting and bringing people into a company.
Good stuff. Well, thank you all for that. Rebecca, Jesse, Sarah, thank you for your time, for talking about the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program. I'm so looking forward to this continuing. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We have a couple of things going on. First, make sure you like, subscribe, enable your notifications for all of our videos. All of our social media is / Schell Games. Search for Schell Games across any social media. You'll be able to find us. Future events. We are going to be at PAX East in the end of April, the 21st through 24th. We're showing I Expect You Die 2. We got a lot of exciting things going on in the booth. So if you're able to get up to Boston, meet us, some of the devs, some of the team, it'll be awesome. We have I know Jesse has a couple of talks going through the spring through the summer. We'll be announcing those on the website. We'll be taking the talk of the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program on the road around Pittsburgh. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, make sure you just follow Schell Games, follow CCAC. Some of the local publications will be able to talk about the Schell Games Apprenticeship Program there and all of those activities. Other announcements. Make sure you check out Lost Recipes, our virtual reality cooking simulation. We launched that at the end of January. That's a Quest exclusive, so feel free to take a look at that. There's a I Expect You Die bundle, so you can get I Expect You Die 1 and 2 for, I think it's like 20% off. So make sure you go and look at that. And then 2 weeks ago, we launched an update for, it feels like a month, all time doesn't matter. We launched an update for Until You Fall. For a 1.3 update, you got some two-handed weapons, so feel free to take a look at that if you're interested in a virtual reality roguelite sword game, which I think a lot of people might be. So next month is our April dinner with the devs, and we are going to have the Until You Fall team that worked on the 1.3 update talk about getting two-handed weapons in the game, what that went like, the challenges that they had to overcome to do that across different platforms. Is going to be a fun stream. Thank you for joining us now. I hope you join us then.
Dwayne, real quick.
Yes.
If people have more questions about the apprenticeship or the CCAC program, where do they go?
They can go. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
They can. Sarah, are you waving to volunteer?
I was going to say, so for non-CCAC portions of that, you can hit my email at skissellvieira@schellgames.com and pass that off to Rebecca.
And then as far as CCAC goes, if you want to come in, we have virtual advising. You can meet with one of our advisors and they can tell you more about it. And they can also point you in my direction at rdupont@ccac.edu.
All right, and I think Adam, who's awesome at the live chat, put that information in the chat. But if he hasn't yet, he will in less than a minute. So thank you, Adam, for your work. Thank you, everybody behind the scenes. Allie, our post-production, Jill, our senior director of marketing, who continues to let us do this every month. So thank you for your support, and everybody tuning in. Thank you. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and I will